Hello, this is Lisa Russick and Misty Lore with the podcast We're All Psychic. And guess what, listeners? This is an exciting podcast for me, and it is for Misty. I tell you what, because Ryan is back. And if you remember, and if you've listened or you haven't, you go back and listen to Stranger Danger podcast. He was the first guest I ever had on the show. And Misty wasn't there for that one, unfortunately. She was there for the second one, but Ryan was the first guest I had on this podcast that I had no idea who he was. I had never spoken with him. He emailed me. This is what I say in a lot of podcasts. Email me. I'll put you on the show or do something with you. And he did it. He did it. And Ryan's back. Ryan, would you like to say hello again?
Hello again.
And Ryan, do you think we're all psychic still?
You know, I listened to something several months ago, and it was supposedly a scientific research facility that is studying this type of gifts and abilities and other phenomenon. And the scientists said that they could prove that this exists scientifically, but he said that he did not find that everybody had this capability. And I called bullshit because I believe we're all psychic.
Yeah, that's good answer.
Bullshit. I call
What's
bullshit.
that scientist's name? Let's call bullshit.
And
that's interesting. That's really interesting in an article.
It was kind of bittersweet because on one hand they said, like, yeah, we have scientific evidence and proof that this exists. And I'm like, that's sweet. And then he backs that up with,
but you don't. That's not. Hey, Ryan, do you still have access to that article? Do you know where it is or anything?
It was on another podcast, but I can probably find that.
I would love to hear
that episode again.
I would love to hear it.
So yeah. I haven't really listened to that podcast as much.
I like to check my references. Like, who is this scientist and why did he say these things? And what is this proof? I want to know.
Him on the show.
Let's get him on here. Let's prove to him. Because we know we're all psychic, right? Well, that's
no, girl. We know.
So listeners.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I didn't know. I was just going to go on and on.
I'm antsy.
I'm antsy too. That's why we're all.
Oh my God. Really?
I was about to, let the listeners know what this podcast is about. So, like I said, he'd been here. I was at 2020 that you were on the show. 2021, you were on the show in the winter, and it's June 11th, 2022 today, and he's going to tell us what he's been doing since then. When I met him, he was just getting into the stuff. Had been for a year or so. And you're back in exploring. So tell us what you've been up to since then.
Let's see. I think since then, I continued a little bit with the podcast with Sam. And then I can't remember what happened. We just got busy. I think she was kind of looking for a full-time gig somewhere, doing other stuff. And so that kind of just fell away. And so I kind of I overwhelmed myself with trying to get into it. And so I kind of took a several month break before about, I don't know, 9 or 10 months ago now. I finally decided, I was like, you know what? It's like, I want to get back into it. I really need to do something. And
now, did you feel like a pull or an interest spark back up, or did you kind of make yourself?
No, the thing is I've always been interested. I always have a pull. If there's an article, a video, well, most time not a video, because you never know anymore with like YouTube videos if it's going to be like Miss Cleo talking about being psychic or something. And so if I see an article or if I run across a podcast that I'm like, oh, that's interesting, I'll listen to it and see how it goes. And that's kind of what I've, I don't know. I think I just happened to look at Google Podcast or something one day, and I started kind of thumbing through and doing the whole explore thing, and found one, and I was like, I really like her. I like the way that she, she cusses when she does her podcast and all this other stuff, and just to me, it's a little accessible and real to me. And so I started following her, doing all that, and then I saw that she had a Patreon, so I, subscribed to her Patreon for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months at least. And in that time, you were able to, asking questions that she would give you, do like intuitive readings and stuff like that. And there was stuff that came out that basically it was like healing, self-healing, stuff like that, self-limitations, all that kind of stuff that I had to work through to really get anywhere.
Now, we talked about this, listeners. Ryan and I discussed this through Messenger a few days ago. But Ryan, we did discuss this, what did she tell you the reason for that was? To look within and kind of tear apart all the bad stuff, the limitations.
I'm trying to remember exactly what it was that she said, but like the way I feel is if you've got other things going on emotionally, mentally, any of that, it's gonna usually either block you from being able to receive that communication, or basically it's just gonna block your way.
It can
You
change,
know,
your perspective can get in the way.
yeah,
It's
your
tainted.
ego,
Yeah.
your human side may be more biased towards this or that, instead of being able just to clean it out completely and be able to actually do something with it. And it's, I think it's been 2 or 3 months ago. Like it got to the point where, I was on, antidepressant. I've been on it forever and had depression since I was like 12.
Me too.
And it finally kind of dawned on me, like I just got that feeling, which obviously who knows, it could be a higher source kind of telling me that it was like, it's probably about time that if you, and like I tell anybody that takes antidepressants, it's a good band-aid, and it's a good way to mellow out and chill out to try to figure out what your problem is.
It does set you
And-
back to where you can work on
Yes,
yourself.
but
Right.
I had this feeling and this drive that I needed to get off of the antidepressants, and really this was the time to really focus on what was going on, what my issues were,
Yeah.
and deal with the emotions of it, you
Yeah.
know, because I know that some people, like, I mean, there was for a couple months where like, oh shit, I'm like, I can feel that choky feeling, like I'm going to throw up and cry, just
Yeah.
you start to get emotional. And it was also to help learn how to keep my emotions at bay, to where if I'm feeling emotions from somebody else, that I can recognize that it's not my feelings. I'm not crying over somebody's grandmother dying. It's them, or maybe vice versa or something, but it's not mine.
Identifying.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so
Missy talks about that a lot. Yeah.
Oh, I do.
it's tough though. And I think that was one way for me to also deal with, the depression was, and this may work for other people that may have depression too, but I almost kind of dissociated the depression as a separate entity.
Yeah.
You go.
Like
You can kind of
I'm,
look at it, step away
yeah,
from it, and
like, hey, this isn't me. It's like I have, it's like I have a pretty good damn life. Things are going fairly well, and this over here, this depression is what's making me think otherwise.
I love it. Yeah.
yes. And I like that you can externalize that depression, because it's not who, listeners, if you're depressed, that is not who you are necessarily.
No, it's not.
It's not your identity. I am a depressed person. That's no one's identity.
it's
That's an
not.
illness. It's an
Illness,
experience.
disease.
Yeah.
And don't be, and the thing is don't be ashamed
Never.
of having
That's-
depression, having
oh, I
to
hate
get
that
on
stigma
something.
stuff.
Because honestly, it's worse to, in my eyes, it's worse to suffer from it and not do something about it to try to make it better.
I
Yeah.
totally agree.
It's like, so
yeah.
so in, thankfully, it's been, I'd say it's closer to 3 months now that I have not taken it. And like, even now I don't get as emotional about things. And if I do, it's okay.
You're
It's
allowed
o-
to, man.
It's
yeah.
okay
I
to
totally
be
can relate.
emotional.
It
you
is
know?
okay to be emotional. Yeah.
Like
is.
for instance, my son is, I haven't had him live with me. I haven't seen him. I have not had him in my presence for more than a week since we went to Myrtle Beach a couple of years ago, like 4 years or so ago, and I had him for a week. That was the longest I've had him since he was like 16 months old.
Oh.
And
Wow.
and now he just graduated high school, and he's coming here to live with me and my family for the next 2 years of college.
Oh
Oh,
my gosh, that's so cool.
that's awesome.
So when I think of that, and I think about, because we're having a party for him next Saturday here at the house, welcome to our home and graduation party. And like, I started kind of in my head thinking about what I was going to say. And as I started thinking about what I was going to say, I could tell that I was getting like emotionally, about ready to tear up and cry. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's okay. It's okay to do that.
Yes,
So-
being a man.
Exactly.
Wouldn't you agree that there's such a, there's so much pressure on men, not to
Yeah.
cry, not to show your emotions, which I think it's
look at me.
stupid.
look at me. If somebody sees me
He's
crying,
been
it's
a
probably
police officer, you know?
oh, and those have
Right.
been
It's
and those have
stupid.
some been the hardest times too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's but in this journey, the emotional healing that I've done with myself, the self-care, the meditation, which I meditate a couple times a week. I would need to do it more, but I have one song
Hey,
that I play. It's about 7.5, 8 minutes
What
long.
is it? Do you mind
It's
telling us?
it's called
yeah.
Song of the Banshees, or Song of the Banshee by, I think her name is Amy Minogue. It's not I don't know if it's widely known, but look at it on
Is she
YouTube. And
related to Kylie Minogue?
I was wondering that,
I
but
love Kylie Minogue.
I think the other one's European, and I think Kylie's Australian. But
Yeah.
No.
but the restraining order kind of keeps me from talking too. So
Oh man, that's a good one.
Which one?
I
Good
can't
one.
say that either. But I just told somebody yesterday that listening to that song, I'll lay in bed or sit in a chair in the living room and just, put my earbuds in and listen to that, and just I'd kind of work with the chakras and all that stuff, and just kind of work on my breathing, and just trying to, feel the vibration of the music in my ears, try to get all 4 brain cells stimulated. But I call it a mental enema, because
Enema.
it really is about just cleansing and recharging. And I think I found that I'm not looking for, a lot of people I think look for answers in meditation.
Yeah, they
And
do.
and I think that's a lot of pressure.
It is.
When you go to meditate, I think that's adding a lot of pressure to your meditation, whereas I just have started just to use it as a cleanse and refresh, and
That's cool.
zestfully clean type of
Yeah,
deal.
this scrubby W,
Yeah.
scrubby W the brain.
And
Thought
I feel
lanes.
like since I've done that and I've started doing that, I feel like it's helped, because there has been a lot of times where, like, I may get, thoughts, dealing with telepathy, getting thoughts and feelings off of somebody else in a certain situation, and then I'll kind of try to verify that with the person that it was
Yeah.
coming from, and a lot of times I've been right. A lot of times I've been
You want to
accurate.
do it right now?
Right now, I'm not in the mind frame.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not either.
still,
I can't
yeah,
think of something to think up for you to guess.
yeah.
It's too early in the day.
And I did look up that one person you sent me yesterday, I think, her
Yeah.
Facebook group, and I had somebody contact me yesterday, and we chatted all day back and forth through Messenger, and
Cool.
it was very good. And I feel like that, if I have to complain about one thing, is that I've seen a lot of books, read a lot of books, heard a lot of things, and there's never really a good way there's not somebody out there that says, hey, if you're wanting to, do mediumship, which I would love to do. I would love to do it all. Honestly, I have no interest in runes, tarot, or anything like that. I like all the other stuff and would love to do it all. But like the mediumship, it's like they all tell you the same thing. There's no, hey, what you need to do is find somebody, whether it be Zoom or in person, somebody you don't know anything about, and try to connect this way, XYZ. This is something that I do. You can try it, but this is what you need to do from step 1 to step whatever. And
Yeah.
I find that what I have found is that it's all about, like, it doesn't tell you anything about that. It kind of tells you everything you already know about.
Mhm.
Oh, you need to meditate. You need to, this is how
Get
this.
ready
It's like,
for it.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
how
Ow.
exactly am I supposed to envision this or say that, or ask please, or I don't know. And so that's kind of where it's like, do I feel like I'm have the ability to be a medium and do everything? Yes, I do. I'm actually a lot more confident than I was the last time that
That's great. I love
Good.
hearing
so my
that.
confidence is there. It's like, yes, I can do it. I just don't know how.
Yeah.
You will
You
though.
know.
No, you do know how, because you know what? You already know that mediumship is your thing. And a lot of people don't even get that far. So
Yeah, you have your interests. That's a really good
yeah,
point,
you
Misty.
already know where you're going with it. And here's the thing. I think that everybody's different when it comes to their abilities. And I think that deep inside what you're supposed to do. So I think that you need to listen to yourself, and that will guide you to the next step.
Well, and
She's good.
and for me, I think part of that is like the person yesterday I was talking to through Messenger was basically like really pushing me to, hey, there's a there's a free practice circle tonight. She
Those
even
are fun.
like
It's
she
They
even
are
fun.
sent
fun.
she like even
Yeah.
sent me the link and all that kind of
You
stuff.
should
And
have
I'm just
done
like,
it.
Yeah, she's
but
awesome.
but I'll tell you this, I'll be honest, and it sounds bad, but I hate people. And it
As an
like
Because
empath,
you're
that
feeling
sounds
all their
normal.
emotions.
but
Just
it's
because you're feeling their emotions. That's
well,
why.
I think part of it too is like, number one, I grew up with two parents that gave my brothers and I, this is right, this is wrong. You don't do this, you don't do that. You don't treat people like this, you treat them like this. And I think, I see the world and the way it is, and I see people acting like shitheads and being negative and
Right.
all that. And it's like, man, it's like I don't even want to deal with them because I don't want that negativity. But I've also learned how to, meditate and envision blocking people's energy from, coming to me, and, asking spirit to block other people's energy from affecting me. And it does help.
Mhm.
But
Good.
I do feel like it's like I do have a little social fear of people that I don't know. Now,
Right.
when I emailed you, obviously I didn't have to talk to you on the phone or see you in person. So it was a lot easier. But it was
Right. I'm the
still,
same way. I'd rather do
it's
it in
still,
writing.
yeah, it still took me a little bit of, saying, come on, talking myself up, walking back and forth. You can do this. You
Yeah.
can email her.
And you
Come
did
on.
it.
And
You
I
did.
did it. So it was great. But, and I think I think right now the next step is getting myself to the point of not having fear of just even joining and watching this, practice circle around people I don't know. Whether it's, do I feel like I'd be judged? No, but I still feel awkward.
Anxiety. You don't know what to
Yeah,
expect. So it's like,
exactly.
what's going to
Yes.
happen? But at least you're on Zoom. So you can just end meeting or leave.
Exactly.
If you're
you're in
uncomfortable for real, if there's people
No
there that you're
video,
like,
click.
I don't know about these people. They don't make me feel good. You can say, sorry, guys, I have a problem. I got to go.
Yeah.
Well, and
Technical problems.
yeah.
Where do you go?
Wait, did my camera shut off? Oh, so click. Oh, sorry.
Technical
Those are cool. If you get a chance to do any kind of circle like that, we did with BWoo, and it's really
Yes.
fun.
It was.
Well,
It's,
and she's-
wow, blows
and I
your
think
mind.
this person, I think, has several, like, all the time. And the good thing about this is that there is people on this in this private group that, like, it's every day. There's somebody like, hey, can I get a sitter to set so I can, practice? Can I get to it? So it's like, so it really is a great place. And I do feel like, in one way, the synchronicities and everything else of, like, I was going to message you like the day before I messaged you, and I was just like, no, I was like, I don't want to bother, type of thing, just within like that day that I did, I was just like, you know what, it's like, I really do want to talk to her again. I want to see how things are going and all that. And then from there, it led to, now I'm in this, private group that I can go
He
further.
followed your intuition.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So
That's what Misty was going to say.
It's about time you realize that.
Sometimes I'm a slow learner,
Yeah, it only took a year.
but I do like chocolate. But
You know why?
Do you love Janae?
I don't love Jenny.
You sound
She's
just
a
like
He
whore.
loves chocolate.
he loves chocolate.
But so I do, and it is amazing how I have found, even not even talking the psychic gifts, mediumship, it's just I feel better mentally, and like physically. I've been trying to lift almost every day at lunch.
Cool.
And then, like, but I knew how hard it was to do the cardio that I hate doing so much.
Mhm.
But it was one of those things that it's like that my intuition, and that maybe the spirit or whatever is saying, hey, dumbass, you need to, this is what you need to do. And that you have so much more confidence when you do it. You feel so much better when you do it.
Mentally too, I bet.
And so it's like, so it's kind of one of those that I equate, if I can do this cardio thing and really focus on, watching what I eat and getting in better shape, going on walks when I don't want to, when it's easier to just sit on my ass and get on my phone or whatever it may be. And I've found that now that I'm more likely to be like, yeah, I'll go on a walk with you, honey. Sure. I got up at 4:30 in the morning, went to work, and now I'm home. I'm tired, but yeah, I'll go on a walk with you. And so I feel better when I get done. And so, and I think it kind of goes the same with, this mediumship stuff.
Yes, exercising your medium muscle.
Yeah.
It does
Exactly.
something.
Well, I think it's yes, there may be things that I have to work through that are at the moment kind of like, I'm a little iffy. And I think, hey, if you're going to have to, if you have the balls to get through this physical activity, you can have the stones to break through whatever you need to in dealing with this spiritual development.
Good point. Good point. So you set yourself a physical task, say, that you assigned like spiritual and emotional and mental meaning to as well. So that's like, you can physically walk and do exercise. You're absolutely do it all. You walk every day, right? You breathe. We do our bodies every day. So that's a really good point, Ryan. I mean, like, you took that attitude and you put it toward everything else, and you can. And that's amazing way to put it. I hope every listener listens to this podcast because of that.
Honestly, I was very big on, in my head, it was, I can't do this. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. Maybe I'm just an idiot, and maybe I think I can do it. It's kind of like
that's some of the stuff you have to work through to
self-doubt.
And I know that there's a lot of people out there that whether it's I can't do this, or this isn't real, or maybe this isn't real, or it's not possible. But I'll tell you that it really is. And you've got to get that out of your head. I mean, are there some things that I have a little harder time believing, that I don't really subscribe to when it comes to spiritual development? Yeah. I mean, some things at this point in time are a little harder to be like, I fully believe in that. And some of it's like,
That's okay.
I've heard that eating carrots helps your psychic ability. And it's like, what? It's
Does
like,
it?
I mean, I may start eating carrots again if that's the case. But
yeah, horses must be really psychic.
Exactly.
They are. There you go, Ryan.
So
be a horse.
That reminds me of college. No. But I mean, so it's one of those things.
You remember college?
Luckily, there was only a couple years worth, so it's not hard to remember. Although it was a long time ago. But I feel so much better mentally, emotionally, physically. Not as much, but I feel better because I have been lifting, and it does help my confidence. And kind of, I had a friend, my friend that's he doesn't call himself a medium. He just
shaman.
He's Native American. He's about 55 years old. He's been able to see his spirit guide since he was like 4 years old. And the Native Americans are very strong in the spirituality and this kind of stuff, and he's very gifted, but he's not necessarily a medium. But he just looked at me like when he was the first reading I ever had.
I remember. Yeah.
And he told me that he's like, you know what? He's like, whatever you think is, possible in your mind, whether it be, telekinesis, levitation, telepathy, any of this stuff, aliens, interdimensional beings, whatever. He's like, just what you think is real in reality is wrong. Everything you can imagine is possible. And it took up until fairly recently that I really started going, sitting back and being like, why not? Why can't it be possible?
Yeah, think about it. And they talk about this in psychology and stuff. Our subconscious supposedly doesn't know the difference between what's happened really in reality for everybody else too, and what's happened in our imaginations. So we can fly in our imaginations, let's say, and some part of us will believe we have flown,
Yeah.
Now let me ask you, if you guys were somewhere and there was some kind of a ceremony, whatever it was, and somebody actually levitated off the ground and you could tell it was legit, genuine and legit, would you shit your pants like I would?
I don't think I would, but I'd be like, how'd you do that? Teach me. I'll be like, what? But I would want to know how to do it.
And I think that I would definitely be awestruck, and I would just be like, it would be one of the greatest things I think to witness that you can witness.
I think it would be cool.
But yeah. So, but then that starts making you think. It's like, what is possible? What is, if
anything?
If there is telekinetic, people with telekinetic powers out there, it's like, why don't you see it more often? Is it
Because they're so
somebody,
used to it, they don't know any different. They
you
just
know,
don't. They
I,
just that's how they live their life. They haven't realized they're doing it. I really think that,
They're
you know,
more open to it, I think.
or they just don't know it's called telepathy. It's just what they do, and that's how they know themselves to think. And they just think they observe more usually. They just think they're very observant.
and one thing I feel like people need to realize is that they, take what, your everyday life, you may not realize that, thoughts that you're getting or feelings that you're getting are actually, a
Impression.
clair of some kind, impressions,
Yeah.
whether it be
Yeah.
telepathy or whatever it may be. It's like, it may be something and you just don't realize it,
Right.
and I think that, I think that there's people that, with the whole we're all psychic, I feel like everybody is and can be, but I definitely feel like there's certain people that would probably never entertain working on it,
Of course.
getting to that point,
Probably
and
not an
maybe,
interest for one
yeah,
reason, or they just
it,
refuse outright,
and they and
Blocked out.
right off the bat they may feel like, they may think that it doesn't exist, it's not real, but they still have the capability to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, they may
you
be doing
know
it with that judgment.
exactly. So there's a lot of things that, I mean, I wish I had awesome stories of saying I did this reading, or I've done 20 readings and I've been accurate
Your
19 out of
story is
20.
one of the
It's like,
best. I mean, I love your story, and I will watch it unfold. And I'm really glad you got in touch the other day, because I was thinking about you for the last month or so, wondering if you would do another podcast. And I was like, well, I don't want to bug him, because that's how
well,
you. But I didn't. It just
like I
happened
said,
organically.
I saw that your podcast, you had like I don't know if it's a story or something popped up on my Facebook. I'm like, well, why have I not gotten any notifications of new episodes? So I went into, I think it was Google Podcasts, and I'm like, well, they're on there, but I'm like, oh shit, it's like the subscribe button's not pushed. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
You got a lot to
So,
catch up on.
so that's why I was like, it's like I need to message her and find out what's going on, and all this. And then I'm like going through your playlist. I'm like, God, there's a lot
We got
more.
busy.
I was like, there's a lot more
Got
episodes
busy.
here.
So real busy. So Misty, I know you have questions for Ryan. The first podcast that you did with Ryan was Sam and Ryan together. Listeners, Misty came for that one. It was called No Limitations with Sam and Ryan, or Ryan and Sam, one or the other.
Actually, it was called Sultry Path.
No, I called it. No, I
that
named the
episode.
podcast
Oh, so you
episode.
did that?
I
You do
named
that
it No
fancy stuff?
Limitations, because we didn't have a name for it, and when we went into the
Oh.
podcast, we decided to call it No Limitations.
That's
And
right.
Misty was there for that. So on that podcast, Misty, I think like before that podcast, you had listened to Ryan's. You weren't able to
Yes,
make it.
I love
And you said, I relate to everything he says so
Yes.
much.
Yes.
So, well, you got some questions? Relate.
Well, the most interesting thing, this conversation has turned into a really, really huge thing that we need to talk about more, and that's depression and how to get out of it. And I think that so many people, go through this and they don't want to get help. At the beginning of the podcast, you talked about, you were on your medicine and how you decided to get off of it. And then you just kind of grew. And so you've done so much growing, the past, since you've been on the podcast last. And I think that gives listeners hope. I think that's what you've done, is give a lot of listeners hope that, you know what, yeah, they're depressed, but they can get out of it. How? Well, he did it. Maybe I'll listen to him.
I'll just have you know that I just had full body tingle.
I did too. I did too. Yeah.
You're relating.
So relate.
Well, and I'll tell you that, I think it was 2013. I had to check myself into a psych ward because things in my life, and I just got to the point where I didn't give a shit if I lived or died, And then I spent a lot of the last 20 years, 25 years feeling that way. And it's been a long time since I felt that way. But, when I check myself
happier.
in,
Yes,
I'm definitely much happier. I mean, and I never thought that I would ever be able to not take medicine and be okay.
Right.
And, checking myself into the psych ward was one of the best things I ever did. And because I did see that there was people with worse problems than what I had, and like ones that they could not control.
Right. And it gives you some gratitude for what you are given.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got out of there, and one key that I found is at that point, I didn't give a shit for the most part, who knew that and I even put it on Facebook, made a post about it, shared it to my wife's page and
Good.
everything about, I check myself in. If you ever feel the need to get away and do something and get some help, do it, So I tried to make it to where, I don't give a shit who anybody,
You're helping other people by doing that.
yeah, it's like if
Right.
somebody else if one person can get some inspiration out of it, then good. But I see too many people like trying to deal with it that, my son's got some depression issues, and he texted me one day and he's just like, so he's like, is this just something now for me? And I'm like, do you mean, is this just like a temporary diagnosis, or are you going to have this the rest of your life? And he's just like, yeah, is this just a diagnosis? I was like, well, it's probably not just a diagnosis. It's probably you're going to have it for a while until you grow up and mature and start to get, heal from whatever it is that you need to heal from. And a lot of times, on this journey, it's things that I've done wrong. It's
Yeah.
things that,
That's really hard stuff to look
and it
at.
is. But
Yeah.
the funny thing
Yeah.
is I have found it is tremendous. It sounds bad, but this is tremendously easy for me to do.
Because you're
Like,
always beating yourself up anyway.
yeah, it's because
you gotta think of that.
but
Definitely appalling.
to step back and be like, you know what, that was stupid. Why did I act that way? And a lot of it was, that one medium that I followed on Patreon, she was basically things about like my dad and the way my dad is a great man. He really is, but he's a grump ass. And,
And that's what you knew from early on.
And exactly. And he wasn't there all the time because he was a firefighter. So he was gone for 24 hours at a time. And I may see him for 3 or 4 hours every other night for a week until he was off for 3 or 4 days. So, and this, his interactions and his demeanor and all that kind of stuff. And he was fighting demons in his head from when he was growing up with his dad. And, I can go down that rabbit hole too, but, seeing but it made me reflect on how I act towards, my youngest kid, my youngest daughter.
Yeah.
And that it's like, shit, it's like, I really need to break that. I really need to get her to understand, like because I don't hug her as much as I should. I don't do that type of thing.
That's what you were taught. Yeah.
And that's kind of how it was. Well, my mom was a hugger, but I was like, man, get away from me. Gross. But I have my two oldest kids. My two oldest kids have lived with their moms for years now. So I think a part of it for me was not getting attached to my youngest daughter,
because you don't get to see them.
because I
Yeah.
don't get to see them, and I either feel bad because I don't, I get to see her but not the others, so I treat her the same way, or because we all
You're making a lot of rules for yourself.
yeah. So finally it dawned on me that I was like, man, I've got to stop getting snippy with her and doing this. I really need to explain to her like why I got upset. If I got upset, I need to make sure that I hug her more and understand that dad does love her, and dad may be an idiot and sound like an asshole at times, but dad loves you more than anything.
That's really sweet.
So but without taking that time to look at myself and really deal with the things that I need to deal with, like,
and forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? He does.
And it sounds bad. I don't know how other people are like this, but like I would never tell my mom that I loved her. Ever.
So you just had a thing with telling people who love you.
No, I wouldn't tell my mom.
It's your mom.
I'd tell my neighbor I loved him.
Why not your mom?
I don't know.
Haven't figured that one out yet.
And I haven't figured that one out. And like she would be like, I mean, occasionally. The problem is in the last 10 years, the only time I ever told my mom that I loved her was when I was depressed and almost suicidal. So it almost had a negative connotation.
Oh yeah, it would. You'd associate mommy, help me.
Yeah,
and dying, so and so that's when you love her. Yeah,
and so
you feel like you're dying at those points.
Oh yeah,
Very
and she was like, so we'd be on the phone like all the time. Anytime I would talk to her on the phone, she, at the end she'd be like, "Love you." I'm like, "Okay," or "I know." And then I'll be like, bye. So in the last 3 or 4 months, I've actually, started saying, I love you too, and goodbye. Oh. And then I got to kind of shake it off because it feels icky. But I know that in the grand scheme of things, that's, me telling her I love her is not for me.
Yeah.
It's for her.
For her.
For her. for me to say that to her now, I know probably
It
fills
does mean
her with
something.
more love and joy than I can ever imagine. And it does make me feel good that I have realized that I do need to say it. I do need to make her feel that way.
Because she's not going to be around forever.
Exactly. And it's one of those things that it's been tough. I'm not going to lie and sit there and tell anybody that this is an easy road.
No,
This
it's
is just
not.
get on the highway cruise control, and it's not.
No,
But
harder.
but I can tell you that I've had, at one point when my oldest daughter was born and her mom and I weren't together and I was super depressed and I had my service gun on my table and I was sitting in the dark. I lived by myself, had like nothing in my house whatsoever. I think I had like 2 plates, a fork, a spoon. I mean, like bare minimum.
Bachelor.
And
Mhm.
and for the most part, I was okay with that. But like I remember sitting there, like just with that gun sitting on the table, and I remember hearing an audible, "Just do it, Ryan,"
Wow.
enough to make me turn around and look and see if somebody was standing there.
What was the voice? What did it sound like? What tone did it have? Was it a
It
man's
was
voice?
it was a man's voice. Surprisingly, it wasn't a woman's voice because
Because the women
oh,
are the
right.
ones driving you to the
Yeah,
gun.
exactly. So, but the thing is like, it was enough to make me go, "Fuck this shit," and I put it up, and I was like, "Nope, I'm done with that." And
Good.
but
To
some
me,
people,
that's a medium experience, Ryan. That
but
is a
you,
medium
Yes,
experience.
it
and
is.
the thing is some people think that it was a
You
bad
saved your own life.
spirit, but I'm like, it could have been a good spirit that knew that it was gonna spook me enough.
I feel like it was your spirit guide.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I feel like that.
It was
Like
like it was
saying,
it was
"Do
like
it. Come
reverse.
on, do it."
It was
Like
like
your
reverse
love. Yeah.
psychology,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was
And it
feeling.
works. So,
which is exactly how it would work with me.
yeah.
Your spirit
And they
guide
need
knows
that.
you.
Because if somebody would have said, "Oh, Ryan, come on, it's not that bad," my brain would have been like, "Well, fuck you. Don't
Watch
tell me it's
this.
not that
Yeah.
bad." But instead
Mhm.
it's like, "Hey, just do it." And it's like, whoa,
And you
what?
heard the
Yeah, I
voice.
knew what
Yeah.
to do.
That and when you're in that state of mind, for listeners, if you've ever been in that state of mind, I'm so sorry. But for me, when I've been in that state of mind of suicidal ideation and wanting to like almost doing or doing, it's like you're not thinking straight. There's something not working here. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And for that spirit or whatever to come through, it's also a really good time to access mediumship abilities when you're in a really bad depression. But you got to watch out because you might listen to some negative ones. But this was a very positive spirit who came through for you. Although
I
what they
felt that
said
way.
sounds like,
It sounds like it
they
was
stopped
fucked up,
you
but
or you stopped
yeah,
you,
it did
but they
it
got
did
you
the
cleared
job.
out. So
And
I have a
it
question.
yes.
When that spirit spoke and you heard it with your ears and you're in that state of mind, did you question it? Like, wow, there's a voice, or were you just it was just so natural, like it was real. You know what I mean? Like it was always there. Did it feel like that?
I think I was too shocked.
You were shocked then. That's what I was
I was
wondering.
I was very shocked. But it wasn't but it was weird because it wasn't like, like if for the normal person, if they heard a noise in their house, they may be like, "What the hell was that?" And they just completely freak out, you know. But like when I heard that, it was enough to make me be like, "Whoa, I heard something that wasn't there, so I'm going to stop this." But after that, I wasn't freaked out or nothing. I wasn't like excessively freaked out by
Yes, that's cool.
like a
Yeah.
normal person going, "Oh, I just heard an audible voice out of nowhere."
In my room for no reason.
Yeah,
Or a very great
you know.
big reason,
Yeah, it
actually.
was a reason.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Um,
I find that, I found that it was, through the years I thought about it more and I was like, it was something that was good that got me to get away from what I possibly could have done. And so, and I feel like one thing to tell listeners is that don't ever, if you're, no matter how depressed you are, don't ever feel like anything, like it's impossible to get out of it, because even as far as like me working out, losing weight and getting better shape, I've watched too many videos of people that were walking with canes, on, using both hands because their back was messed up, everything was screwed up. And then like they fast forward like a year later and they're doing like triple backflips, running 5 miles. So it's not impossible.
That's right.
Don't ever think that anything is impossible.
That's right.
that's so true.
So
So-
it goes with anything. It's whether it's getting a job you want, whether it's losing weight and getting better shape, not
Or
being,
levitating.
or
Yeah,
levitating.
exactly.
Work on it.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
work
it's-
on that.
Yeah, let me know how
think of
that
it
Light as a
goes.
feather, stiff as a
Yeah.
board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather. I used to try that so much, I never ever worked.
Me
But
too.
I'm going to. I believe it.
I did
So,
too.
I would like to thank you, Ryan, for coming back. You're welcome anytime to tell listeners what you've been going through.
I
And
love it.
I would also like to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app where you get advice from psychics and empaths so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve at everclear.com. And Ryan, is there anywhere you would like listeners to find out about you? Do you still have your podcast going or anything like that?
As of right now, I do not have a podcast, but I do have one that it is non-spiritual related. It is my son and my stepson and
Yes.
I are going to do one coming up. We're going to start one here, hopefully within the next month or so. Not sure when the first episode will be out or whatever, but it's basically for the most part, it's a generational gap thing. Like we'll talk about topics and how my old ass thinks about something compared to those.
Oh, that ought to be
young
good.
That's gonna be great.
but
Yeah.
it's going to be also, since we're a blended family, and there's obviously shit tons more blended families in America, we're going to talk about what it's like and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want it to be serious and raw, on some of those topics, but it will be a lot of shit talking between us. And I want it to be fun, entertaining. I want it to be real. I want it to, some people will be like, don't be surprised if either one of the boys calls me a dickhead or an asshole or something like that, because that's the way we talk to each other. Like my stepson, he texted me one of my birthdays and was like, "Happy birthday, bitch." And I just laughed my ass off. And that meant more to me than, "Happy birthday, Ryan," because it was so generic. But for him to be like, "Hey, I want to get him with this," it was good. And so a lot of people won't understand the dynamic that we have.
They will.
But
The men will.
Exactly,
The men, the father, a lot of fathers and sons probably will.
But I hope that they understand that, my stepson and my son, we have a good bond, and my son and my stepson, they have a good bond. They call each other brothers.
That's great.
It's not step brothers or nothing like that. So, like I said, maybe next time I'm on, maybe I've done some more development and I can share some interesting stories of some kind, more interesting stories. But I do feel like even with what I have to say now, if it helps somebody out, then that's what's really important. It's more important than me telling people about developing mediumship. I feel if what I said today can help more, then that's more important to me anyway. So,
you've helped me today. You've given me like to hear back from you a year and a half later or so, year or so later from that last podcast, and to hear how well you're doing, and that and something listeners, he told me I would like to talk about real quick. What did you talk to your wife about recently? You told me on Messenger. You said, "I can't believe I'm talking to my wife about quantum jumping."
Quantum jumping. and it was weird because I would get that whole oh, must be retrograde, and I'm like, and I'd always look at her and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" It's like, because sometimes I feel like some people can use that as just a chic thing that but
an excuse.
but then she and I start talking one day, and she's like, "Oh yeah," well, then she starts rattling off stuff about medical, physical things that she's heard, and she's like, "I just saw something about quantum leaping, I was like, quantum jumping." She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I just heard something on a podcast the other night about and of course we were kind of discussing what she had heard it was and what I had heard it was and different things. And it was really good.
The mysteries can be sexy.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I was aroused. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it was sexy. It's like yeah, you're talking about this stuff with your favorite person, and you didn't know they were learning. And I thought that was really romantic when you told me about that. I thought that was cool.
And we haven't talked a lot about it, but if things come up like that, it does allow us to have a conversation that's not about the kids sports, or whatever.
Adult conversation.
Exactly. And so for me, that was a very good thing. And now, like, going into like the whole, if she knew how much I really wanted to get into the mediumship thing and really follow it, I don't know if she would be as openly supportive, but I think there's personal reasons behind that.
So listeners, we'll find out the exciting conclusion of that hopefully next time he's on. Stay tuned.
Hopefully it won't be a year from now or whatever. And if you ever feel like if you ever want to ask me again in the next couple months to come back,
I would love
for
to have
whatever
you back in a
reasons,
couple
dude,
months.
just
In a month, we can make this a
yeah,
monthly thing. I'd be filed
Yeah.
up.
just
Perfectly happy
ask.
with
I've
that.
got a damn podcast studio that I really, for the
I
most
know
part,
it's
right
beautiful,
now,
listeners. I wish you could see it.
I wish you could. I mean, if you have somewhere to post it, I'll send you a picture and you can
Yeah, I'll
show
use it as a
people.
podcast cover. Send me a
That's a
picture.
good idea.
Because right now I just basically play.
Oh, I do have a
video
question,
games on
Ryan.
here.
What is the name? Do you have a name for your podcast yet?
It's going to be called Like Father, Unliked Sons.
Great. Listeners, we'll definitely have you back, and we'll definitely have you back after you have an episode or two live so we can get some interest for you. Maybe
Yes.
I'm already interested. So thank you. And listeners, of course, Missy, I want to thank you, and Ryan, thank you, and listeners.
You, Lisa.
I love you, listeners. Thank you for listening. And everybody, have a wonderful day and evening and morning and night and middle of the night. And where else? What time of day would it be? What can you think of? I've hit night, day, morning, middle of the night, afternoon,
Mid-morning.
mid-morning,
Brunch time.
lunchtime. Okay, there we go. I guess some other times, wherever you may
Supper
be,
time.
whatever time it may be. Enjoy yourself, and thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.